Today will be a day to remember for the rest of your life. The Pro Football Hall of Fame is excited to present the Heart of a Hall of Famer program connected by Extreme Networks. With over 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 47 states and countries all over the world, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans important life values like commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty.
You have to make right decisions even when nobody's watching you.
Well, respect is not just given out. It's not handed out like a brochure. It's earned.
Today, you are presented with an opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more important than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. They didn't roll out the bed great. They put the work in, on the field, in the weight room, in the classroom, in their communities. They made themselves a Hall of Famer on and off the field.
Your feet can't take you where your mind's never been.
Because you can make it, but it's just gonna take a little hard work and some effort and the drive and determination.
And today, you will learn you can do the same thing they did. You don't have to have a gold jacket or a bronze bust to make a difference in the lives of others. It's your decision whether you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
If attitudes are contagious, is your attitude worth catching?
It's integrity as well, because when you decide to pursue something and you don't quit, that says a lot about you.
Commitment to excellence. We can all aspire to be the best.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, the Heart of a Hall of Famer program, connected by Extreme Networks.
I need to commend Mel Blount for his program and the things that he's doing with young people. He's to be commended for that. I'm very proud of him.
Then Mel Blount and Terry Bradshaw were inducted into the Hall of Fame. Mel Blount was the cornerstone of our defensive backfield.
Now, one of the guys that really got me ready for the NFL is Mel Blount. He's around here somewhere. There he is right there. He pushed me every day in practice.
But it is truly an honor to have spent these last days with these guys, people that I've looked up to all my life. I've grown emulating in my backyard, throwing touchdown passes. Can't say tackling somebody. I can outrunning Howie Long, beating Mel Blount. But it's been a joy, and they've taught me the true meaning of what the Hall of Fame is really all about.
Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, for another installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series connected by Extreme Networks. Our mission here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the greats of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. And we are excited to present about those values today, our values of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty, all of which made the gentleman that's going to be sitting in this seat right here beside me a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and a great football player, but it made him a great man, great father, great husband, member of his community, all of which we're going to learn about today. As always, my name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth Education and Leadership Manager here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I am super excited to have the opportunity to sit up here in front of everybody today and moderate this program. Before we introduce our special guest here today, a few thank yous I'd like to pass out. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our great partners at Extreme Networks for everything they do for us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Without their impact and their influence, we wouldn't be able to do this program. So we are super grateful for their opportunity to support this and give this opportunity to your students and students all over the country. Secondly, I'd like to thank your teachers for leaving your classroom today, bringing your students here to hear from us from the Hall of Fame. We appreciate and are honored to just be a small part of your students' learning experience this school year. And then lastly, we have to thank our students. You know, without this program, it's just me and a Hall of Famer up here talking. answering some questions, but it's not every day you guys get to come to the Pro Football Hall of Fame and hear from a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And those schools we do have here today, we have Central Catholic from Pittsburgh, not the one down the road. We got Central Catholic PA, Howland, Fitch, East, Waynedale, McCormick Junior High, Ombudsman, Monticello, Maple Heights, and Rittman High School all here today. They're obviously happy that they're here today. Throughout the program today, we are going to be taking questions. We had a few students who were pre-selected. All those students are in the back of the room with the card. Students will instruct you every time you go to ask a question. I'll tell you what to do. But if you do have a question and you don't have a card and you're not sitting in the back right corner, go ahead and find a Hall of Fame staff member, tell them your question, and we'll do our best to make it part of the program. No promises today. We do have a bit of a shortened program, as we'll explain what Mr. Blount is here for. He's got a busy schedule today, so we'll talk about that. But no matter where you're watching, whether you're here, whether you're touring today, if you're taking pictures, make sure you share them on your social media. Tag at ProFootballHOF, tag at Extreme Networks, and use the hashtag HOF Values, and your post just might be reshared. So that's enough for me talking and introing every program. So I am proud to welcome a 4-time All-Pro who had 57 career interceptions, a 5-time Pro Bowler who spent 14 years in the NFL, but most importantly, Hall of Famer Mr. Mel Blount. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good to be with you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. You have a seat right over there.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome back to your second home.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's great to be back, and it's good to see all these beautiful young people here. And I want to start out by saying happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everybody. And I also I have a special person with me today is my lovely wife, Miss Tiana Blount. Just raise your hand, darling. She's with me. So how you doing? It's good to be here.
I'm doing well.
We're part of the Heart of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, we are super excited to have you here today, and want to start out with, the feeling about coming back to Canton. Obviously you've been a Hall of Famer for a while, but there was a time where you were just NFL legend Mel Blount, Pittsburgh Steelers legend, before you became a member of the Hall of Fame. What is it like walking back in through these doors, wearing that jacket, knowing that you're a member of the Hall of Fame?
Well, I tell you what, it's special because it's a long ways from Vidalia, Georgia, where I grew up at, and being the youngest of 11 kids. And so the journey has been great. It's been awesome. And just to come back to get to your question, just to walk back through these doors and be a part of so many great men who have played the game of football and what they represent has been special.
Those values we talked about at the beginning, our Hall of Fame values: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty. Obviously, all important, and no matter what you're doing, whether it's in the classroom, at home, we're obviously going to focus on the football field. Out of those 5 values, was there one that was more important to you, that kind of impacted your life on and off the field, or did they all 5 kind of have their separate impact on your life?
Well, they all have been important, but I think, when you talk about character and when you talk about who you are as a person, and I think I heard it said that character is what you do when people are not around and when people are not looking. And so I think the very essence of who a person is starts with their character. And I think when you see guys like myself or other Hall of Famers or people who have been successful in life, they don't have to be football players, or they could be lawyers, teachers, professors. There's always been that one thing that really drove them to be who they are, and I think it starts with their character.
How did that help you on the football field, obviously become a great football player, but then the second part being, how did that help you off the field? How did those life lessons, those character values you learned from the game of football help you become a great husband, great dad, great family member of your community?
Well, I think football is the greatest team sport. I think the lessons you learn, when you look at, and so many people sit in front of their televisions and they watch the game of football, and it's one thing that if you don't learn anything else, just remember how important it is to be able to work with people and depend on people and have trust in one another and hold people accountable. I think that's what makes great teams. That's what held us together to win 4 Super Bowls. And so, but when you talk about all those things, it still starts with character, what that individual is all about, and the fact that you can trust them, the fact that when they tell you something, you can believe it. When they're given an assignment, you can believe that they're going to get it done. So what I always said when I taught my kids, what I taught them and what I teach the kids at the boys' home is that you have to make sure that people can depend on you and that they can trust you. And so that's, to me, when you watch the game of football, because if the tackle doesn't do his job or the running back doesn't do his job, you don't have a play, it doesn't work. But when everybody is in sync and doing their job, then it's a beautiful game to watch.
Well, we're super excited here today, and we're going to get to student questions in a minute, but I want to talk a little bit about, coming back to Canton. You get enshrined to the Hall of Fame, and for those of you who don't know, when you get enshrined, you get 3 iconic items. You get the bronze bust, which, for those of you who have toured today, have seen our Hall of Fame gallery, we got one that looks pretty familiar right behind us here. I hope it looks familiar.
Yeah, we'll accept it.
You get the Hager gold jacket and then the K Jewelers Ring of Excellence. So I want to talk about the jacket you have on. Inside your jacket, you have your name and a specific number. That's your Hall of Famer number. Nobody else in the Hall of Fame has it. What does it mean for you to have that number in your jacket and be able to say, I'm Hall of Famer number Mel Blount?
145.
145.
Right.
I should have done my research.
Well, look, only thing I can say is that it's truly a miracle that I'm where I'm at today. And I owe so much to the game of football. I owe so much to the coaches in high school, the teachers, the professors in college, the coaches in college, the fans, the family, because I'm not supposed to be here. I grew up doing segregation. Grew up on a farm in Georgia I was born in 1948. Grew up on a farm, youngest of 11 kids. My parents were dirt farmers, and only thing we had was each other. And I tell you a little story. Everybody wanted to know, well, how did you get to Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana from the state of Georgia? Well, my senior year, in the last game of the season, I scored 5 touchdowns. I ran kickoffs back, I played wide receiver, and I was a defensive back. And there was an official who was officiating that game, knew someone at Southern University, because in the South, in 1966, when I came out of high school, you couldn't go to the University of Georgia, you couldn't go to any predominantly white school. And so this official knew someone at Southern University, and they called him and said, there's a kid over in Lyons, Georgia, that you all need to take a look at. And so the coach came, and we didn't have cell phones back then. In fact, we didn't even have a phone in our house. These were the 50s, 60s. I mean, when black folks were, struggling to survive and having the right to vote and everything else. So make a long story short, the coach came, offered me a scholarship. I went to Southern University, and everything from there on is basically history.
Had a famous teammate you saw there in that intro video. Harold Carmichael was a teammate of yours at Southern. What was it like, having to line up against, you didn't know it then, but having to line up every day in practice against now a fellow Hall of Famer?
Well, Harold Carmichael was a 6'7" wide receiver. And the thing about Harold was he had these mittens. I'm talking about he could catch a ball with one hand just coming straight at him like that. He had big hands. And so we went at each other. And in fact, there's a saying that iron sharpens iron. So this guy made me better, and in return, I made him better. And I had no idea that as kids on that campus, playing against each other every day and playing together against people like Doug Williams and people at Grambling and Jackson State and all these other schools that we were playing against, that we would both wind up here in Canton, Ohio. But he was a great player. He was competitive. He made me better, and I made him better.
Awesome. Just a cool story how, never know who you're going to be lining up against, never know who's going to be on your team, and how your own teammates can help you get just right here to Canton, Ohio. So with that being said, we're going to go back to our students' questions. So whoever's up first back there, you're going to go ahead and step up to the microphone. You're going to state your name, the school you go to, and then you're going to go ahead and ask your question. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and tell us your name, your school, and then ask your question.
Hi, my name is Shane Clisby. I'm from Central Catholic High School, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, class of 25. My question is, what would be your favorite Super Bowl memory?
Favorite Super Bowl memory?
Well, my favorite Super Bowl was Super Bowl IX. That was the first time the Steelers had ever been to a Super Bowl. And the memory of that Super Bowl is the hit that Glenn Edwards made on John Gilliam across the middle. They were driving for a potential score, and Glenn came across and hit John Gilliam. The ball pops up in the air. I made the interception, and it basically turned the momentum of the game. So it's a good memory. And the thing that I've always said that we were so blessed that we went to 4 Super Bowls, and we never had to experience losing one of them. And I can only imagine what that feeling would be like, but I'm glad that I never experienced it. But that was my memory, my favorite memory.
Awesome. Thanks for that question. We had Andre Reed here last time, and Andre Reed lost 4 Super Bowls.
Lost 4, yes.
So we got both ends of the spectrum here. 4 losses in the Super Bowl, 4 wins. But it's cool because Andre talks a lot about, he lost 4 Super Bowls, but he learned so much from those losses. On the flip side of that, you're at the top of the game. You've won the big game, the biggest game, pretty much in the entire world, in definitely in the NFL season. What were you able to learn from that besides, hey, we're a great team. We're at pretty much a dynasty at this point. What were you able to take away and apply to your life from wins like that?
Well, I think there's so many lessons that you learn when you win, and there's so many lessons you learn when you lose. I think the one thing you learn when you win is humbleness and gratefulness, because you could have been on the other side of the spectrum. And I think that it teaches you humility, it teaches you respect, and also it teaches you what responsibility is all about. Because when you get to a certain position, I don't care if it's a coach in high school or principal, lawyer, politician, there's a responsibility that comes with that. And so it's the same way with winning. When you win, you have to be humble, and you have to encourage others that, well, maybe you didn't make it this time, but if you keep working, and if you hang in there, if you keep doing the right things, then things are going to fall your way. So that was a great lesson that I learned from winning.
Awesome. All right, we're going to go to another one of our student questions, so go ahead and step up to the microphone, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
All right, I'm Will Palco from Central Catholic Pittsburgh. And my question is, can you tell us about your work with the Mel Blount Youth Leadership Initiative and why that is important to you?
Tell a little bit about your youth initiative,
Right.
the Mel Blount home, the boys' home, everything you do there with the community in Pittsburgh.
Well, I'm going to first give you a little background and give you a little story, so just bear with me. In 1983, I knew I was coming to the end of my career. And I had, at that time, young nieces and nephews back on the farm in Georgia. And when I would go back there, this was in the latter Super Bowls, Super Bowl 10 and Super Bowl 13. Those kids, my nieces and nephews, were small kids, 8th graders, 9th graders. They would go into the schools, very small community. And they would tell their friends that their Uncle Mel was home. Well, everybody back then knew, because it was a small community, we were on top of the sports world by winning those championships, so they knew that those kids were my nieces and nephews. So after school, they all would be out there on that farm wanting you to take pictures or sign autographs or throw the football or whatever. And really, there was just, in my spirit, God spoke to me and said, you can do more than sign autographs and take pictures and things. So we started looking at how we could actually help kids and encourage them. And that's how the whole idea of the Mel Blount Youth Home was born. And that was in 1983. So we started that program. We've helped a lot of kids. Then in 1989, we started the program in Pennsylvania. So it was out of that experience that made me realize that the platform that I had, that I could do more with it than just sign autographs and take pictures.
What are some of the specific programs you guys do and give back to kids, whether it's during the school year, during the summer? What are the things that you and your family are doing with the youth?
Well, there are a lot of programs that we run. One program that I'm really proud about is our equine therapy program, where we have kids, we teach them equine horsemanship, therapeutic riding. I mean, you have kids who might have disabilities. And then the other thing is just our tutoring program, counseling program. We have kids that we sponsor in college. So there's a plethora of things that we're doing to try to help kids and give them opportunities to reach the goals and be successful in their lives.
I want to pivot a little bit. You know, obviously we at the Pro Football Hall of Fame know, you know, you love being with, you know, your horses, and whether it's on your farm, at your farm at home, or anywhere else in the country, you're also the guy who always has the cowboy hat on. Anytime, for anybody here, anytime we see this gentleman right here, no matter where he's at, he's got the cowboy hat on. So can you talk about, you know, A, where does that passion come from? I mean, I'm assuming you growing up on a farm, but, you know, B, how important is it to have, you know, something outside of football or outside of whatever a student likes to do in here, something that's just theirs to own and something that they have a passion for and love to do?
Well, I think one of the things is that I don't care where you are in life, you have to be who you are. You know, I'm a country boy, and I don't pretend to be anything else. I grew up on a farm. I talked about my background growing up in the 50s and 60s and down south. And being the youngest of 11 kids, my parents, that's what we had. We had horses and mules and sleds and wagons, and that was our means of transportation. That's what we used in the fields. I was probably, out of the 7 boys, and I take pride in it, probably was the best ploughman that my dad had, and I enjoyed it. And so everything that I've done and every phase of my life, I've never deviated from who I am. And so growing up in the country, I love it. I live in the country now. I live on a farm. But that's, and what happened in 1970 when I was coming out of college, I got introduced to the Western riding horses, which we could never afford to sell when I was growing up. And so I got involved with riding, competing in the Western sports. And the one sport I compete in is cutting. And so just got back from Fort Worth. My son is doing the same thing now, who used to work here at the Hall of Fame, Akil. And so I just encourage all of you all, don't care how high you climb that ladder in life, don't ever deviate from who you are, because when it's all said and done, it's going to be ups and downs, there's going to be setbacks and everything else in life. But if you stay true to who you are, then you're going to get through it. And so that's one thing I would encourage all of you all, to just be who you are, stay the course on chasing that dream that you have, and things will come out your way.
Awesome. All right. We got some more questions from our students there in the back. So our next student, go ahead, step up to the mic, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
My name is Nevaeh. I attend school at Fort Hays in Columbus, Ohio. My question to you is, what does it mean to you to have played your entire career with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Playing your whole career, one organization. What's that mean to you?
Well, it's special now because it doesn't happen in the game today. And I played 14 years in the National Football League, and all 14 of those years was with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think one of the things that I can say is you feel like you're part of the family, that one family, the guys you play with, the ownership. And so not that that's what I wanted when I played, because like most athletes, you want to try to make as much money as you can while you're playing, because you know it could end at any time. But looking back over, I'm grateful for that, and I really hold that dear to some of the things that has been so close and so true to me, and so I'm grateful for it.
Was it a goal of yours to stay with one organization, or you just got to the league, happy you were a member now of the NFL, and just kind of how the chips fell, they fell?
Yeah, I can't say it was a goal. It was just because there wasn't a lot of movement among players during the time that I played. You was with the team, and normally that's the team you wind up with until you got cut, and sometimes you would get traded. But I'm glad that it happened that way. When I look back over my career, I realized how blessed I was to be able to stay with one organization, and the friendships that I built with players who I played with. Off of that team, I think we have 11 guys in the Hall of Fame, that was on those championship teams that we played with, and that doesn't include coaches and owners. But it's just been a tremendous ride for me, knowing where I came from and just knowing how hard it is to excel and succeed in that game. So I'm grateful for all the things that has happened.
So played on a very successful team, a lot of great players, the dynasty when you were there, but nobody else on your team has a rule named after them. What does it mean to you that the NFL had to create a rule in 1978 because you were playing so dominant at your position?
Well, it's special. I think the older I get, the more I appreciate it, because, when your kids and your grandkids start talking about daddy or grandpa, there's a rule after you, named after you. I think it's pretty special. I must say, though, that when that happened, I was somewhat insulted, because I thought they were saying that, well, that's the only way that he knows how to play, and that's a way of slowing him down. And, one of the things that it did, it really kind of put a chip on my shoulder. And so we went on and won 2 more Super Bowls after that.
5 yards, right?
Yeah, 5 yards.
So for those of you that don't know what the Mel Blount rule is, it's a receiver cannot be touched within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage.
After 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. You have to jam, do what you're going to do as far as touching that receiver within 5 yards. And that's why you see in today's game so many flags that are thrown in the secondary, is because defensive backs are grabbing the receivers past that 5 yards and slowing them down. So that is what that Mel Blount rule has basically brought into the game.
That's how good he was. There's a rule named after him. All right, we're going to take another question from our students there in the back. So go ahead and step up, state your name, state the school that you go to, and then go ahead with your question here for Mr. Blount.
My name's Denia Avery. I go to Monticello Middle School. And my question was, who influenced you the most in your life, and how or why did that person do it?
Who was one of the biggest influences in your life?
Well, that's, when I look back and I think about that, my family, especially my mother, she bore 11 kids. I was the youngest, and I lost my father my freshman year in college, and the way my mother steadied the ship and, showed leadership and just kept the family together. And, because she was basically the person in charge of running the farm and keeping things going. And so she had a tremendous amount of influence in my life. But then my sisters and brothers, because when you're that low on the chain, food chain in particular, you learn a lot of things from your siblings. And the one thing I learned about them was perseverance and really being determined to reach the goals that you set for yourself. And the influence that they had on me was that, hey, we might be growing up doing segregation, but that doesn't mean that we're less than someone else, and that you can be as whatever it is you want to be if you're willing to go and work for it. And things are going to happen as long as you're pursuing that goal and you're true to who you are. So I would say it starts with my mother, but my entire family, because we have a very large family, you can imagine. When I was born, I had a nephew older than me, so I was an uncle when I was born. When you have 11 siblings or 10 siblings, 11 with me, those kind of things happen. And and of all the things and all the places and everything else, what I'm so proud of is my family, because when it's all said and done, that's all you have is your family.
Talked about obviously influence in your personal life. Were there any influences in your football life, your football career, whether it's coaches or mentors you looked up to when you got into the league that helped you become the person you are today?
Well, it definitely started with my defensive back coach in college, and then when I came to Pittsburgh in 1970, it was a tough transition because I went to a predominantly black college, an HBCU school. And so I never had a chance to play with white players or be coached by a white coach. So all that was a part of the transition that I had to go through. And the fact that, I had never seen snow. I had never, when I came to Pittsburgh in 1970, I had never seen tunnels. Pittsburgh got a lot of tunnels. It was just a whole new world for me, and I had to find my way, and I had to learn how to navigate through all of those issues.
We see a lot of snow now, right?
Too much.
All right, we're going to go take another question from the back. So our next student, go ahead and step up to the microphone, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
My name is Janiyah Edwards. I go to Monticello Middle School. My question is, what was your welcome to the NFL moment?
Your welcome to the NFL moment, that moment where you realized, all right, this is a little different than Southern University.
Well, there was a lot of those moments, to be honest. In 1970, when we came, we were playing Philadelphia, and I never forget this play because it wasn't a play that I was involved in, but it was a play that I witnessed. And the play that I witnessed was that something happened out there that pissed Joe Green off. And Joe Green, he was always known as Mean Joe Green. So Joe Green grabs the football and throw the football up in the stands, and the officials didn't say anything. They just got another football and kept playing. But I said, man, this, if that happened in college, I'm sure there's going to be a flag or there's going to be something. But I think it was so many of those moments. But my rookie year, we were playing a game, and in fact, this game happened to be in Cleveland, and there's a picture of it where I was running kickoffs back, and I thought I was fast, okay? But I got caught at the 1 yard line, And that's when I realized that we were on a different level because everybody can run and everybody is talented. But the one thing about the National Football League and professional sports, when you might be a superstar in college, but everybody that's on that team was a star wherever they come from. And so it's the best of the best. And I think that's the great thing about sports. I was watching a game last night with the Warriors and Houston Rockets, and it just came down to one play. And because everybody was so talented, and that's what you get when you get to that level.
Awesome. All right, we got some more questions from our students in the back. So our next student, go ahead. Step up, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
My name is Trey Wells, and I go to McCormick Middle School. And my question is, if you could have played with another Hall of Famer of your choice, who would you choose?
If you could have played with any other Hall of Famer, who would you have chosen? You already played with a lot of them. Is there anybody off that list that you would have played with?
That's a good question. There are so many great players, and if you're in the Hall of Fame, obviously you were a great player. So I would just flip a coin, and whatever name came up, I'd be honored to play with them.
Was there a fellow Hall of Famer that, talk about not playing with or playing with, but is there somebody else in the game of football that was playing when you played, you could be on your team or not, that you kind of idolized or you kind of tried to model your game after or just had a certain level of respect for that person because of what they did for the game of football?
Well, when I came out of college in 1969, the Kansas City Chiefs had won the Super Bowl. They played Minnesota in New Orleans, and New Orleans is 90 miles south of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I was a senior coming out, eligible for the draft that year, and they had Emmett Thomas, who is in the Hall of Fame, a defensive back, who really I modeled my game after, and Willie Brown, who's in the Hall of Fame, who went to Grambling. Those were the guys I watched those guys on television play the bump and run, and Jimmy Marcellus, who was with the Kansas City Chiefs, went to Tennessee State. So those were my heroes at that position, and those are the guys who I try to emulate when I was playing bump and run. And so I think all of us have players that we watched if we're in high school or college, and that we said, man, I want to try to play like that guy. And so those were my guys.
I want to talk a little bit about along those same lines. So for those of you who don't know, every August we have our annual Enshrinement Week here in Canton, Ohio, where we have the Hall of Fame game, we enshrine our new class, and the last 5-6 years there's been over 100 Hall of Famers who have returned for that week to celebrate our new class. And there's an event that goes on every year. It's called the Ray Nitschke Luncheon, and it's an event that only Hall of Famers are allowed to go to. Our staff can't go, there's no cameras, even the president of the Hall of Fame isn't allowed in that room. You're only allowed in there if you got one of these gold jackets on. And at that luncheon, obviously during your career, there's a level of respect you have for the opposition or your teammates when you're on the football field. But I want to kind of focus on what that level of respect is like in that room. You have guys you looked up to who are in that room. You have players coming in who looked up to you. So what's it like walking into that room, and do you try to talk to somebody different every year, or do your DBs or do your Steelers have your table you sit at every year?
Well, it's a special time of the year. It's a special luncheon. I think it was best said by Deacon Jones, who was a defensive end for the LA Rams. And Deacon Jones, he said that this is a team. He was talking to all of us in that room. And I'll never forget this. It was the first luncheon I went to after I had been inducted. He said, this is a special group of men. He said, and it's a special team that we're on. He said, this team, you can't be cut from it, you can't be traded off of it, and you can't die off of it. And I thought that was pretty powerful way of looking at what it is to be a Hall of Famer, because even when you pass, you're still a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And so when we go into that luncheon, you're not just sitting with guys who play for the Steelers. You're sitting with guys who you admired, guys who you played against, and guys who have had similar struggles or journeys that each of all of us have had. So it's special, and it's a brotherhood, and it's a team that, regardless of what happened, you'll always be on it.
Awesome. All right,
they can't trade you, they can't cut you, and you can't die off of it.
That's right. We got time for a few more questions here in the back. So our next student, go ahead and step up, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead and ask your question.
My name is Jordan Kilo. I'm from Merriman High School. And my question for you is, when adversity struck, where did you go to regain your confidence?
Obviously, everybody has to go through adversity at some point in their life. So when that happened in your life, where did you go to? Was there a person, a place to regain that confidence?
Well, I'm glad we're getting to this part of everybody's life, is that your faith. When you come from a family like mine, faith was always the center and the cornerstone of who we were. And so when you're going through life, you're gonna have challenges. I don't care who you are, I don't care where you come from, what your economic disposition is, you're going to have challenges. And your faith is what is going to sustain you. And I would encourage any of you and all of you who have not found that faith, don't care if you're Catholic, Baptist, whatever, there's only one God. And I'm a Christian. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of the gospel. And anytime somebody want to talk about faith, I'm there to be a part of that conversation. And it's been so many times that it was my faith that got me through struggles or through problems that I had to deal with. And so, when you read Scripture and you learn Scripture, and you can draw from that. Just like Hebrews chapter 11 say, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Well, so which tells me that don't care what the circumstances are, don't care how bleak it may look, if you have faith and you continue to hold on to what you believe, then you're going to get through those issues. So, and you see it all the time. You see stars and celebrities, you read about them, going through different issues and going through things. And a lot of the times when people turn to drugs or some kind of crutch, it's because they don't have any faith. They don't know who their Savior is. And so that has always been what has sustained me. And I would encourage any of you to, if you don't know God, if you don't know Christ, that you get involved with your church, get involved with Christian communities, and learn how to navigate through this life with faith, and you'll find it to be a lot easier.
Awesome. All right. We got one more student question, I believe, in the back here, so go ahead and step up, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead and ask your question.
My name is Brady Summers. I go to school at Wayndale High School, and my question is, how important is it to have a support group around you during a rough patch?
So you go through those rough patches, you talk about your faith and you go there to, to kind of recenter yourself, get you back on track. But how important is it to have people around you that you can go to as well?
I think it's important to have people around you, but it's important to have the right people around you. You don't need people around you that when you're going through things and say, oh man, come on, let's go have a drink. Or come on, let's go smoke some pot or whatever that is. But if you got people around you that you can go to and you can sit down and talk about what you're dealing with, and they can lead you to Scripture that can help you get through those difficult times, or they can give you good sound advice about what the next steps should be. Those are the kind of people you want to surround yourself with. And I'm gonna tell you a little story about Chuck Noll, because it kind of talks about having good people. And so one reporter had asked Chuck Noll, said, well, how do you keep winning? How do you keep winning these Super Bowls? And he didn't say because we got great athletes or because, we're lucky. He said you win with good people. He didn't say good athlete. You win with good people. And good people are not just good ball players, but they're good off the field. They're good in their communities. They're good with their families. And so that's how you get through tough times. You surround yourself with good people.
All right, a few more questions before we wrap up here. For those of you that are here today, Mel is actually in town for something that we have called the residency program. He is going all over, pretty much Northeast Ohio, here over a couple days, visiting different places, doing different things here at the Hall of Fame, being back at, like we said at the beginning, his second home here in Canton. So he's got a busy schedule, so we're going to wrap up here, but a few more questions. We talked about the jacket, we talked about the bronze bust, but you also get the Kay Jewelers Ring of Excellence. So my first question is, you got 4 Super Bowls and a Hall of Fame ring. Right. Do you ever put all 5 on at once?
No.
No? All right.
No.
But what does that ring of excellence symbolize and mean to you?
Well, I think one thing when I look at my careers, and I'm talking about from the Steelers, the pro football career, to get 4 Super Bowl rings, it's truly it's a blessing, and I don't even know if it really dawned on me yet what it really means and really represents, because I'm so country. I'm not into jewelry. I'm not into rings. But I respect the fact that, we were able to win 4. And what happened with the Hall of Fame, the ring I got in 1989, I still have it, but the Hall of Fame changed, and they upgraded the rings. So I actually have 2 Hall of Fame rings.
Nice.
But it's just truly, I'm telling you, when I tell you that this wasn't supposed to be me and it happened to me, I'm so grateful, and I just thank God, because it is truly, when I look at my journey from where I started from, and I'm talking about growing up amongst, my siblings and the farm work and the segregation and all the things that happened, the riots in the 60s, which, was people fighting for their civil rights, and to football be that vehicle that would get me out of that and get me through it and get me in a position where I can use that platform to help others and, to raise a family. I'm truly grateful for it, and I don't take it lightly. But the rings and all the things that come with it, I try not to get caught up in that. I'm not a big collector of memorabilia. I don't go around trying to get my teammates and other people I meet. I don't go around trying to get their autographs to put in, quote unquote, man cave. I'm just not into that, but I'm grateful for the journey.
Awesome. Well, we got one final question, but before we get to that, I want to thank you so much for giving time out of your busy schedule to be here specifically for this program, but also to be in Canton for these couple days to give back to the community and be here at your second home at the Hall of Fame. Last question for you today is we've talked about so many great pieces of information for students to take away with them today, but let's just say they can remember one thing. They only can remember one thing when they leave this room today. What is that one thing you want the students to take away from today and be able to apply it to their lives?
Well, I think for me and for where I'm at in my life, and knowing from experience and the wisdom that I've gained, is that, and we talked on it briefly, find and build a relationship with your Savior. That's Jesus Christ. And know that don't care what happens in your life, if you have the Savior in your life and He's at the center and you believe in Him, then whatever comes your way, you're going to get through it. And you're going to be better coming out of it than you were going into it. That's what I would like for you to know.
All right. With that, can't think of a better way to wrap up this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series, connected by Extreme Networks today, featuring class of 1989 Hall of Famer, Mr. Mel Blount. So, as I stated before, Mr. Blount does have a busy schedule, so we're actually going to let him dismiss out of here first. So as he comes off the stage here, walks out the back, our great teammate Jeremy's going to take him to his next place. Let's give him another big round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.